Welcome to JacFab'in Friday. As you know, today we're going to test the stock recirculation valve and the JacFab recirculation valve. Like I said last week, I've always theorized that this guy leaks because, let me show you how this works. So, hopefully you can see this here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 holes in the center of this piston. So this is your piston that goes up and down, right? There's no seal on this edge. It's just hard plastic. There is a spring inside. It's fairly weak. I mean, there's not much there. So basically, the JacFab one works on the same principle as this. It's just got some external parts, I guess you would say. So the idea behind the stock one is when your piston is sealing with its flat, hard plastic face against the bottom of the recirculation chamber of the turbo, your boost goes into these holes on the inside of the piston, as this guy's hollow. That equalizes the pressure. So if there was no holes here, the boost would just push this guy open, right? So with the holes there, that equalizes the pressure, and the spring pressure allows that thing to stay seated. And even though it's not much, there's no seal, so it's gonna leak. That's how this works. Basically, the JacFab one works the same way. So there's spring inside this with about 3 times the force of the stock one. So you've already got that spring pressure, more than stock. Your boost comes from an external line into the top of the unit, and that equalizes your pressure. So basically, not only do you get your boost pushing the piston down, but also the spring pressure. Same deal for that guy, except there's no real seal. So let's go ahead. I'm going to assemble the stock unit onto the test fixture, throw it in this fish tank full of water. I got my little air compressor over here, turn the regulator up, see it leak. I've already done a little bit of pre-testing, if you will. I don't know what the outcome is going to be of the JacFab unit yet, because I have to hook up another external line for the boost and whatnot. Basically, I put some dicom. That's a machinist fluid for marking layouts and whatnot. Put some dicom on the edge of the stock piston, just to make sure that the piston was indeed touching the bottom surface, and it was touching all the way around, which it is. So this is pretty dang close to real world situations here of what you're gonna see with this stock one on your car. So it's I've already test fit it. I know that it's got a good seal, even though it's not gonna seal anyway. So this guy's almost ready. Tighten her down. Right, so there's your recirculation port. This is gonna be the external boost line for the JacFab unit, but I've got a plug in it right now since we're not using it for this. I've got an air fitting screwed into the bottom. So if I blow through this recirculation hole, in a perfect world, this wouldn't leak, because the piston is already down, resting on the surface where it should seal. Even though the pressure isn't equalized with your boost going into the piston, it shouldn't leak because there's not a lot of pressure there. So I'm going to bring this over here. You hear that? So my money's on this guy's going to start leaking. So currently my regulator is at 0 PSI. Get this in there to where it's flat, not just hanging around. That would be optimal. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, the unit is in the water. I'm going to go ahead and turn the air pressure regulator up to 20 PSI. Okay, this is exactly 20 psi. You can see that's leaking pretty good. I'm going to show you the regulator, 20 psi. So I'm going to unplug this guy real quick. Right, now that pressure regulator is going to come up. Now we're looking at, say, 28-ish psi. So what happened there is because I removed this, this is now my dead end. I set the pressure while it was leaking boost in the tank. So now since I've removed this, my leak is gone, and that's the actual pressure that is now being shown. So basically, think about it this way. We're just going to use 8 psi for an example. I'm sure this isn't the most accurate regulator in the world, but it gives you an idea. So here's an example in your tune for your car. Say stock tune, for example. It's set to 20, 21, 19 psi. Let's just say 20. Now, for the computer, to get that 20, because this guy leaks, your boost pressure is actually 28 in a real world, but that 8 is constantly recirculating. So you're getting your 20, but the turbo is really spinning to what it would take to get 28 psi. So you're losing power because 1, it leaks, you're losing boost. 2, you're spinning the turbo harder to get the 20 that's being commanded, and that causes more heat to be built up in that charge. So you get a hotter charge and you're leaking boost. So this guy is trash. It works. Does it, people say that there's nothing wrong with it. We use it on 400 horsepower builds. Cool. But you're obviously spinning your turbo harder than you need to because this is a piece of crap. So I'm gonna pull this out. I'll put the JacFab one on. I haven't tested the JacFab one yet. I have no clue what it's gonna do. So I did change the piston before starting to film this because I checked the piston just like I checked the stock one. My piston was too small. Luckily, I had a bigger one ready to go. So I put the bigger piston on, verified that it does fit. So in a perfect world, the JacFab unit is gonna go in here and it's not gonna leak. So now I'm going to remove this plug, put a bar fitting in here, and run a line from here to here. That's going to be our boost. That's going to help push this piston down, just like the stock one, except I'm doing it externally, whereas the stock one is doing it internally. I'm using Teflon tape on all these fittings and plugs and things just to make sure that there's nothing leaking anywhere else aside from where the part would leak. Check that. I got this line, took it off one of my spare turbo housings. Got these clampies. I hope they're good enough. I hope this line does not leak. We will see. Okay, I have the JacFab unit assembled on the test fixture. Here's your boost reference. This is tapped into here, so we're going to be getting boost direct from our boost source to push on the piston down. We're going to be getting boost directly from our boost source to help push that piston down along with the spring pressure that would normally just push the piston back down whenever. So I've turned the air regulator back down to 0 psi. we're gonna put this in the tank, cross our fingers, because like I said, I don't know what this is gonna do, but I'm pretty sure, hopefully, it's not gonna leak. So here we go. All right. Let's give her the meat. We're gonna turn it up to 20 PSI. So right now, we are at 20 PSI. Just a hair over 20. This thing is not leaking. Huh. So, yes! So, I'm gonna crank this up and see what it'll take. 30. 40. Seeing a couple bubbles there, but nothing substantial. 50. 60 PSI. We're gonna back it back down. So, that tells me that it does open. I'm going to turn the pressure back up to 20. Okay, something must have happened there. But whatever it is not much, because I can stop it with my finger. I didn't try that with the other one. Maybe it's waterlogged because my boost hole goes into the recirculation hole, and I bet that now you saw when I relieved the pressure, a lot of bubbles started coming out. That tells me that it did indeed open, and because there was less pressure in the boost reference line than there was coming in as I was turning it down, the boost was overpowering the piston and the spring pressure, allowing the boost to escape. So that's fine, that's normal. So let me undo this, dump the water out, because I'm betting this thing's full of water now. And that's why it's not sealing again now. So, okay, so I figured out what happened to this guy. And what happened was when I cranked it up to 60 PSI, and as I was cranking it up, the air pressure actually moved the piston on its rod, pushed it away from the mating surface of where it would normally seal. So I'm going to take this apart, I'm going to move the piston back down, and we'll throw it back in there. Now granted, like I said, this is a prototype, and I'm not making the pistons yet. I'm just kind of piecing them together. So when I do make them, that won't happen. So it's not a big deal. That's good. Assuming I put this back in and it works again, we know that it works and the idea is viable, which means I can go go to production. Put my boost hose back on. Clamp back on. Maybe. If I was smart, I would have grabbed some pliers. Regulator is all the way down. So we're gonna put it back in the water. There's some residual air. It's good. Now, I fixed the piston, it's back in the water. Let's try it again, verify that it works. PSI. 30 PSI. 40 PSI right there, so we'll stop there. And what do we got leaking here? Oh, those are just some little bubbles that were left in the housing. So I'm guessing the piston has probably moved again at this point. So I'll fix it one more time. So it's good. I just got an easy problem to overcome, assuming that I'm going to find the same problem again here. But proof of concept is everything, and we know that it's there. Right, exactly. The piston has moved again. Son of a bitch. So what I've done this time is I put a nut under the piston. That should keep it from getting shoved up the rod from the boost. And this should, in theory, work and continue working. I just don't know how much travel I have removed from the piston. It may open, it may not, but it shouldn't leak again. You like my product placement? Crystal Geyser, yeah. The unofficial drink of JacFab. All right, one more time. Okay. Now, I'm gonna turn the regulator up. 20. 30. 40 PSI. Just getting a couple bubbles, but piston seems to be staying down. That could just be air coming out the exhaust port. So anyway, 40 PSI, we're sealing. 60 PSI. So you can see that it's still holding and the piston isn't moving now. But I've taken away so much stroke with that nut that it can't move. So this is 60 PSI. Let me show you. $60 PSI. Going to release the pressure. Yeah, okay. So, there you have it. It works. I need to make my own piston, obviously. and that's going to fix that problem that we were having. But you know, it didn't take away so much travel as that the piston is just forced in there. It just doesn't have enough to open. But like I said before, this boost line, there's going to be like a check valve and a magical solenoid that's going to switch that to vacuum. When you let off the gas, that's going to open that to let the air recirculate. So I've still got to figure that out. I got to build a wiring harness to plug into the stock plug for this stock guy. That way, when the computer is energizing this, it's actually energizing the solenoid to relieve the air pressure. So obviously, I've still got a little bit of testing to do to make sure that it opens when I want it to open. But I got to get the piston issue solved first. But the good news is we know this works. We know the stock one leaks, and this is going to be an awesome product. So and what I'm hoping for when people see this is, you know, they've always said the stock one works fine, and so far everything else I try, I've been ripped off. Granted, it's a free world and I don't have any patents, but when people see this, they're gonna go, oh, yeah, I guess we should have worked on one of those. But I spent all the money doing testing, fixtures, unit, you know, granted it's a prototype, still costs money. But anyway, you saw it here first. All right, thanks for watching JacFab'in Friday this week. I think the testing went fairly well, despite some small issues with the JacFab unit. We know it works. It worked the first time, every time. And once I figured out the piston issue, it's good. So once I make my own pistons that can't have this problem, this thing's ready to rock. You know, you saw the stock one and how shitty it is. So my only hope is that the big guys out there will give me a gimme and not worry about this, because they haven't worried about it before, so why would they worry about it now? But anyway, you can see that there's definitely an issue with the stock one. So tune in next week. I'm going to be working on some Christmas presents. There's going to be some machining, there's going to be some etching, there's going to be some laser engraving. So I've got a lot of work to do before I leave town next Saturday. This channel just isn't going to be about Camaros and stuff. It's going to be what I like doing. You know, granted, 90% of that's going to be related to Camaros or cars. I'm going to work on my G8 GT. I've got a 72 Chevelle at home that needs an LS swap. And, you know, random art projects, machining, laser engraving, you know, whatever I can show you guys that I enjoy. I enjoy making these videos, so, you know, it's kind of gives me an outlet, and hopefully it gives you guys something entertaining to watch. So stick around. I got a lot of projects planned, a lot of Camaro projects. We're going to be doing some methanol injection testing very soon. I'm in the process of building a direct port injection setup, which you guys will see probably here, not next week because I got to do the Christmas thing, but maybe within the week or two after that. You know, we'll get that all set up. Thanks for watching JacFab'in Friday.